experts. We all feel very uncomfortable with that word expert, but we'll do our best to answer your questions. And we'll just start at that end of the table and work our way this way.
My name's Daniel Lewis. I work with Texas Forest Service in the LaGrange District of 13 counties in this area of Bastrop.
Smitty Covey, I work with the Bastrop County Soil and Water Conservation District, and we're partnered with the Natural Resources Conservation Service, so we're kind of familiar with their programs too.
Roxanne Hernandez, I'm administrator of Bastrop County's Lost Pines Habitat Conservation Plan, which, if you're unfamiliar with that, is the county's Houston Toad Program.
Meredith Longoria with Texas Parks and Wildlife. I'm with the Wildlife Division, and I'm a private lands biologist for Bastrop and Caldwell counties.
Greg Creasy, Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. I'm a natural resources coordinator for this region, including Bastrop State Park.
Chuck Calvin with Texas Forest Service, and I'm a water resources forester out of Temple, Texas.
Have you learned everything that you needed to know throughout the day?
Are there any toads left? Are there any toads left? Do we know
Are
yet?
there any toads left?
We won't know till January, right? Is that it?
We do expect that there was some mortality, direct mortality of Houston toads as a result of the fire. We also expect that many more survived. It was a hot summer. They were burrowed, we believe, most of them pretty deeply underground, and thus were probably not that affected. The next challenge for those that did survive is going to be when they come up, when the weather cools and when we get some rain, to what's been described in some areas as a moonscape. They're not going to have any shelter, and as Greg indicated in his last talk, the state park has been creating some artificial structures using some of the debris that's been generated, the brush, so the toads that do come out will have some cover. The structure that's been created is also going to attract some insects, which is the toad's food base. So hopefully, if we get some rain and some vegetation either remaining or created as a result of the fire is put there, will draw enough insects that the toads will have a food base.
Can landowners do that too?
Yes. In fact, at the Lost Pines recovery team table out front, there are two documents there. One is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's best management practices for, habitat restoration.
Yeah.
Excuse me, habitat restoration, I think is what it's called. Yeah, there's another one for cleanup, debris cleanup. The one on habitat, thank you. The one on habitat restoration does specifically address what landowners can do to enhance Houston toad habitat around breeding ponds.
What do you expect for bark beetles in the next couple of years?
That's a good question. I think that probably around the edge of the burn footprint that there will be an increase in X beetles primarily, killing the trees. I think that there's already a healthy population here due to the extended drought. So maybe for a while they were working in the dead and dying trees that were in the burn, but I expected, populations to increase.
What we've seen, it's been very strange. We've had Joe Pace and entomologists from the U.S. Forest Service come down after the fire, and there was, like Daniel said, an active Ips beetle population for the last 3 years, but now they've disappeared for some reason. They can't find them in fires. They've kill timber. They can't find them in the dead timber and fires from June, July, August, or the Bastrop fire, and they've been monitoring every 2 or 3 weeks. They've got a theory that the wood is so dry now from the drought that it's actually unsuitable for hip beetle, which seems very, very strange, but I'm sure that'll turn around.
What about a dendrochmus beetle?
That's the southern pine beetle?
Yeah.
Danny, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, we've seen some very, very isolated instances where southern pine beetle's been found in Bastrop. And we haven't had that beetle here, and we're really hoping we don't get that beetle here,
Yeah.
because that could wipe us out.
I was hoping to get some ideas here about how to convert what we've got into something useful, okay, like a mix of small pines like this with no foliage at the top, which are supposed to be cut down and used for erosion control, or yopons that are burned and just provide more fuel for another fire that might come through. So cutting that down, and how much you have to convert that to mulch, maybe. I guess, and then the large pine trees, I guess if you could find a logger that could cut them down and haul off the timber and do some, I've read documents that Roxanne put out, says you can cut down like maybe just a third or 2/3 of the trees and leave the rest standing until they fall off. So anyway, just trying to convert what's there into something useful, or leave it alone.
I'll address the salvage logging, and then any of us can talk about maybe we have a variety of options for vegetative debris. With regard to the commercial value of the trees, we're just not having much luck at that at all. We don't have a market for it. We thought we had a couple of interested contractors from East Texas for a commercial timber salvage logging operation on the park, but that still hasn't happened, and it's pretty tenuous at this point. We're too far away from the mills. The mills are all full of lumber, and they really don't need any more fire kill timber. So the big challenge of this entire, the dead trees of this entire burned area is we have this product and no market for it. But I know several people are working towards that. And if you need any additional information, Roxanne's probably the best one to cover that. Does anybody want to talk about what to do with yopon and other things?
Or what about the crowns of the trees? Like I think I found a guy who will cut them down for his own personal use, but I'm still going to be left with the top foliage, which are supposed to be cut up and just scattered on the ground.
Right. You know, I don't know what your objectives are for your property and how you manage your property, but most of the fire area, there's a real lack of any organic material left. There's no ground cover, there's no structure for wildlife. So I have been, my advice to landowners has been spreading that slash out around, dispersing it, and let it lay there. If that doesn't negatively impact whatever else you're doing on your property, scattering that debris, tree tops and yopon and any of that stuff across the ground can intercept raindrops, can prevent erosion to some extent, and provide habitat for a lot of critters.
I suppose the yopon just leaves it kind of intact as a big gnarly bush.
You know, if you can mash it down, or if you can mulch it, or if you can flatten it out somehow, it would be better than just, standing up there in a big bush like. But anything is better than nothing. So I think you would get some benefit out of it if you want.
I couldn't agree more with everything that Brett just said. So, I mean, it depends on what you want to do. Like you said.
Well, actually, I was going to take advantage of the fact that the trees were gone to convert it to plant native grasses.
Well,
And these are areas where they didn't have any prior grasses, like there's no coastal Bermuda there, which is what a lot of the rest of the pasture is.
they'll benefit from that organic matter that you're scattering about, which will eventually rot and break down. But they don't need fertilization or water, that's the beauty of them. But I don't think that would be mutually exclusive for your goals.
I would just say, the only thing with, if you were going to reseed, and I don't think, I wouldn't feel convinced that you really need to be reseeding. But if you're going to reseed, somehow you need to get seed in contact with the soil. If you're just throwing seed out above ground, you're not going to get much germination. So if you're going to spend the money to reseed, you're going to have to do something to get seed in contact with the soil. And that can be drilling, it can be disking, it can be as simple as dragging a log chain around after you scatter seed. So
I wouldn't think about reseeding, but slash on the ground if you're gonna seed maybe in a pheasant.
right.
If you're planning on active, reseeding, then you probably don't want to do that right away. You would probably want to seed first and then do your other stuff.
I was gonna actually try to use some technique like seed balls, which I haven't heard much about today, which I guess that provides its own soil and some nutrients in the seed ball.
How big an area are you talking about? If you're talking about
10 acres?
4 or 5 acres, that's one thing. If you're talking about 200, that's another
No,
thing. So
4 or 5.
that's probably a viable option, something you can do by hand on that size acreage.
Emily, you wanna talk about seed?
I mean, a lot of seagulls, like, I know that it takes a lot of, I don't know anybody that's reseeded 5 acres with seed balls. But I know someone that was affected by the Oasis wildfire out in the hill country that sits down every evening and he's able to make 500 seed balls casually each evening. So, I don't know. If you have 5 seed balls per square foot, I guess that would be 100 square feet per evening he could make those seed balls. However, I was gonna say that, the Native Plant Society of Texas has gotten together with, the Austin school children. I think they got somewhere like 22,000 school kids involved in it.
Is it helpful or harmful doing wildflower seeds?
Wildflower seeds?
Yeah.
Wildflowers are kind of what, actively grow and hold down the soil in the cooler seasons. It's cool season grass and wildflowers. And I know that, Cyril Ryring was mentioned in the previous session. Is another one that can help hold down your soil right now. And you might be able to.
Yeah, as I said, the things you're probably seeing coming up now will be wildflowers. So that's what will be germinating right now after the fire. If there's anything coming up, something that you'd be looking at. Wildflowers in Texas are kind of from all over the state, so whatever if you can get a source, that's great, I think, but it's kind of past the seeding time for them.
And there's a lot of wildflowers. If you are interested in wildflowers, I don't know if this is just around your home, or if this is a big pasture, or what you might, your situation is, but there's also a lot of.
Dates on the county website, so,
The Lost Pines seed mix, the seed that we've been talking about, there's a handout at the Lost Pines Recovery Team table that does have both the cool season as well as the long-term, seed mixes, and then on the back is a list of, dealers who can supply that mix.
Where is that booth?
We're in the lobby on the,
So I've been out
if you walk in the front door, if you just look straight, we're right there. We're in between Fire Camp where, Bastrop State Park had an exhibit, we're just to the
Where
right.
the big map is?
Yes. But they left, so using State Park as a reference is not a good one.
Was there a local, I saw that flyer, but I didn't look at the back of the, list of places where you can get that mix. Is there a local place here in Bastrop that sells it?
I have
We are also going to be contacting feed stores to see if any of them would be interested, would be willing, to contact some of the dealers, purchase it in bulk, and then sell it locally. It's not available yet, to my knowledge.
Bastrop Gardens, I know, because we've been, working with Bastrop Gardens on our southeast recovery mix that has the 56 species. And we could probably work with them to get